A conservative Christian nonprofit group eager to demonize the Satanic Temple and its after-school Satan Club decided to spread blatant lies about what that club teaches children. Why? Probably because the truth would hurt their narrative. Now, if you're not familiar with After School Satan, it's a critical thinking and compassion-minded club formed in response to Christian good news clubs that already exist at several public elementary schools. The idea behind these ass clubs is that if a school allows an extracurricular Christian club to meet, the law allows other religious groups to meet as well, and the Satanists are taking advantage of that. The fact that Christians have protested or banned these after-school Satan Club meetings in recent months just reveals their hypocrisy. They're not content with merely having access to kids. They want to make sure other groups are not given the same opportunities. To be clear, after-school Satan clubs do not promote Satan, satanic beliefs, Satanism, or anything else like it. The Satanic Temple, which sponsors these groups, doesn't even believe in a literal Satan. After-school Satan clubs are not about indoctrination. Rather, the Satanists focus on free inquiry and rationalism. It's like a science club with a fiendish twist. As one recent flyer showed, the club uses arts and crafts, community service, games, and nature activities to promote a non-theistic worldview. Before I get to how a Christian group went after them though, you need to know one more thing. In 2016, after a Colorado elementary school allowed students to pick up donated copies of the Bible, the Satanic Temple created its own coloring book and donated those to the same school. It was, depending on your perspective, brilliant trolling or an appropriate response to a religious giveaway. The After School Satan Club was actually launched a few months after that coloring book was created, and they announced it with this purposely provocative video. It sounds scary because they love poking the bear, but nothing about the club itself is threatening, which is exactly the point. There aren't many of these clubs, but whenever they show up, parents and school district leaders tend to overreact, not realizing that their own policy of permitting after-school religious clubs is what led to the Satanists showing up. They shouldn't worry though. Like I said, these clubs promote compassion and science. It's the Christian clubs that teach kids about hellfire and damnation. They're the ones doing long-term damage to kids. Now, recently, the nonprofit Christian Action Network, a conservative organization that sees Satanists as the enemy, decided to go after these after-school groups. They released a YouTube video attempting to shed light on this evil club and the evil group behind it. But here's the problem with trying to condemn after-school Satan clubs. If you tell people what Satanists do at those meetings, it actually sounds pretty great. So, the Christian Action Network decided to just tell lies. How did they do that? Well, for starters, they showed a lot of content that the Satanic Temple members do at adult events, which are not meant for children and which are irrelevant to the discussion. You know how Republicans have equated adult-themed drag shows with drag queen story hours at public libraries, even though the two are nothing alike? Well, this Christian group conflated Satanist adult content with the offerings of a club meant for children. It's unfair. It's wildly misleading. But it only got worse, because at one point in the video, the narrator began showing images that are purportedly from the Satanic Temple's coloring book. For example, there's this page that tells people to avoid the temptations of adult content and websites about serial killers in order to be more productive at work. There's also a page featuring a man that you can color with the caption, "Meth me up." And then there's the Walk of Shame maze, where you can stop by a deli for a hangover cure and go to the STD clinic to schedule an emergency appointment. And here's the thing, I will admit those are not appropriate for children. Which is good, since none of those images appear in the actual Satanic coloring book. I know that for a fact. It's a short book, which suggests to me that the people who spent time making this video didn't even do the bare minimum amount of research before they condemned something they knew nothing about. So where do those 3 pages come from, if not the Satanists? I have an answer. They come from Coloring for Grown-Ups, a parody coloring book published in 2012, around the time that adult coloring books were all the rage. The Huffington Post described that book as offering the pleasurable experience of coloring to a more mature audience, one familiar with the injustices of society, feeble nature of dreams, awkwardness of one-night stands, and general awfulness of Chris Brown. What I didn't understand at first was how or why the Christian Action Network got that book confused with the Satanist one. But Lucien Greaves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple, told me it was basically irrelevant. It is a testament to the unassailable merits of ASSC that those sifting through the curriculum in order to create outrage and controversy are left totally fabricating non-existent ASSC materials in order to do so. Still though, I wanted to know how that mistake could occur. So I also reached out to Martin Moyer, the president and founder of the Christian Action Network, to ask why he included those pages in his video about the Satanic Temple. And he wrote back to me. He was angry that I didn't give him more time to respond, but he said you might also want to ask HuffPost, and he included a link to a Huffington Post article about the Satanist coloring book. And at the bottom of that piece, separate from the actual content of the article, are images from the adult coloring book. Why are they there? Well, the final line of the article explained everything. For a very different, yet equally unconventional take on a coloring book, check out Ryan Hunter and Tage Jensen's hilarious coloring book for grown-ups. Basically, as any website owner could tell you, it helps with search results when you link back to other articles on your own website. So if you're writing about the Satanist coloring book, it makes sense to say, hey, do you like this article? Because we wrote another one just like it. Please click the link and make our advertisers happy. The point is, the 2 books have 0 overlap. The adult coloring book has nothing to do with after-school Satan clubs. Martin Moyer doesn't seem to know how to read. He could benefit from some after-school clubs himself. He also said one other thing in his email to me. Apparently, you don't dispute another Satanist having a photo of a live baby stuffed in an oven. To which I thought, I mean, that sounds pretty bad. If a Satanist is putting a live baby inside an oven, I will go out on a limb and say, I oppose that. Eating babies is bad because I am courageous. But I went back to his video because I kind of wanted to see what he was talking about. And that image, which appears on a Satanist's public Instagram feed and has absolutely nothing to do with the After School Satan Club, refers to an old meme about how evil atheists supposedly are. Atheists are so immoral that we eat children. It's a joke, something Moyer also doesn't understand. I assure all of you that no babies were actually actually harmed in the making of that image. And again, that image is not included in any of the content meant for children. And this is what I don't understand. The guy behind this 16-minute video trashing Satanists didn't appear to do any of the bare minimum research to justify his most explosive claims. He even wrote an article to accompany the video announcing his group's big plans for the hoax-filled content. Christian Action Network has just produced and released a video exposing the Satanic Temple and its planned perversion for elementary students. Christian Action Network will produce DVD copies of its documentary film and distribute them to school board members that have accepted or are considering placing the After School Satan Club in their school districts. Ooh, DVDs. Very current. But the point is, they intended to send this video to school boards anytime a Satanist wanted to begin one of these clubs. They hoped to scare board members into rejecting those requests. Those school board members should know they're being lied to. Because if there's one takeaway from all of this, it's not that Satanists are evil. It's that conservative Christians have no problem spreading misinformation when the truth is inconvenient for them. By the way, as I am making this video, the Christian Action Network took down their original video and put up a revised one without those coloring book images. They didn't explain what the change was. They kept the baby in an oven reference though, because they still don't seem to understand how jokes work.
A baby in a roasting pan being thrown into the oven. Somebody showed this at the school board meeting, and the Satanists, there were about 20 of them, they just broke out in extreme laughter, like the funniest joke. And I just blessed myself, because it's the level of depravity you have to go down to think that that's funny.
But that means their new video still tries to scare people without there being anything scary actually in it. Instead of admitting defeat, they're just doubling down on Christian bigotry.